Welcome. Welcome to the tape group, the Master Teacher tape group, to be precise. Great that you're here, and I'm looking forward to listening with you to another tape. We find ourselves in Sedona, part 2, and the part 2 of the talk that we already started listening to, the first part and the third part, but now it's like the second part. And that's going to be interesting because we're actually taking a look at some of the expressions before. So I'll let somebody in. We're going to take a look at some of the expressions. These are happening in the first 5 minutes of the talk and are fundamental. They're fundamental to take a look at, and that's why we do it. So, yeah. It is different. It is all different. Now, I don't know what your experience is with listening to Master Teacher tapes so far, but for sure you have a recognition with it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be pulled to this. But see, the thing that is being offered, you could say, the recognition that's being offered is so not from here that it's, you can say, really look for the place inside yourself where you can receive this, and that's exactly what I'm asking you to do, because this is like you tune in on a frequency, and this frequency can only be completely received now in this present moment. And up to that moment, it doesn't make any sense what you hear. So you might recognize that too. It's like, I have no idea what he's talking about or what exactly. And then suddenly you get yourself in the groove of listening, of becoming present, in fact, yourself. And it starts to make sense. Not even necessarily the words as the experience that you're in yourself. And that is the important thing to remember in listening to Master Teacher. And of course, every one of us has his own way of experiencing this. So that's wonderful. I want to start with some of the expressions to take time to take a look at it. Because a lot of what Master Teacher teaches in this tape is in fact related to the idea of trying to convey this message. Like, how can you cannot explain or give words to a revelation that you have. A revelation being a direct contact with God, a direct moment of communication that in fact is just for you. That suddenly you feel the fear and doubt that you might had a moment ago completely dissolves, and you're overwhelmed with an incredible gratitude. And in that instant, or in that moment that you receive that is taking place, and it gives you a certainty that you didn't have before. So that's the loveliness of revelation. Now he's teaching from revelation. Master Teacher teaches from revelation. In other words, like, he experiences exactly that in that moment that he's trying to convey. And this is the alignment that takes place in you, where you still might believe that there are such things as time and space, your considerations, your concerns, your ups and downs, your duality, you could say. Being that, letting that come together, collapse into this moment, and brings you into a state in which revelation is possible. And that is so cool. So, just that you know, like, this is the place where it teaches from. Now, in fact, anything that you experience in revelation, you cannot give words to it. You see this even in the book Revelations in the Bible. Yeah, you can go into it and try to analyze it and try to get something out of it. And sure, it is inspiring to read it, but it isn't you experiencing that revelation in that moment. Now, this is totally, say, available to you when you are made revelation ready. In fact, that is what we do in the Course in Miracles. You're being made revelation ready. That nothing is disturbing for that to take place. And not that you do that, but literally that comes to you. So in other words, trying to convey something that you cannot give words to might seem like a failure. It might seem like that's impossible. You cannot do that. Now, Master Teacher shares something about that I like to share with you. The Newness of Me is the title of this episode. The Newness of Me. And this is like the new you, as in you receiving a revelation of the truth of you, the direct communication with God, no longer used to make another image of yourself, but to come to the reality of you, to that part that is real of you. So this is my reference, Ecstasy of Impossibility, The Miracle of Light, Part 2, Sedona, Arizona. So, whatever has happened to me, okay, in this newness of me is not conveyable. I can bring you a vision of our association, but I cannot speak to you of my revelation. How can I? It is not speakable. And a lot of you say yes. And then you go out with this new revelation and attempt to formulate it in associations. You'll have the same problem. Like if you try to teach this, you will have the same problem, that you actually don't know how to convey this. But remember that your attempts to formulate it are what the miracle is. It's how to teach that your attempts to bring about a demonstration of it literally provide the vision of the healing, of the reassociation with the false. Oh, wow. Yeah, so it's like you can't really talk about this. You can't really convey this directly from revelation, but you can try. And in this attempt of you expressing this, your new experiences that you have, the new impartations that are coming to you, and you trying to express that in whatever way, is where the miracle happens. Literally, it's like that has great support. So it's, however you are seemingly not being able to express this at all, at the same time it works perfectly, in other words. So this is what you can trust. But this is also for you. Like this is for you. This is not just Master Teacher saying that. No, this is, you have new experiences in which you literally experience yourself not to have a human experience, but from an elevated state, you could say. A more spaciousness of your consciousness, or an expanded self, however you want to call it. Like you have experiences with that. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to explain that to anyone, but in your attempt to express the newness of you, the miracle happens. Literally, that is a part of your miracle mindedness in trying to convey it, trying to express it in whatever way. And that's lovely to hear that. Like that is a confirmation of what you actually know. In other words, like your considerations about, well, I cannot explain this to anyone, I don't know how to say it, I don't know how to tell anyone. It's not, that is not working. In other words, your attempt to do it, get in action and actually come into some kind of expression of that, of the newness of you, has all the support and is a miraculous occurrence in itself. That is what is important. So otherwise you think, like it says somewhere in the Course too, it's like you think that there's a bad world out there that doesn't understand anything. Still separating yourself off from this world, thinking that the world is bad. or whatever idea you hold about it. So here it comes back to you. It's like, no, you'll get opportunities to share of your newness in whatever form that will come to you, that you are inspired to share. Now you see that we're literally discovering that and how to do that, what possibilities we have to do that. Whether that's visual, whether that's with words, whether that's just pure presence, there's a lot of opportunities for that. Now, in this application or use of the opportunities, the miracle happens. What does that mean, the miracle happens? Well, you come into an experience of communication that you become happy of it by doing so. That you feel like, wow, this is so great. I grow in my certainty and trust in this. That is so lovely. And it starts exactly where you find yourself. I said this many times too. It's like you have a new experience, something that you have released, you could say, and that gave you such a good feeling. Now, what is happening with the ones that you meet during the day? They might just have a question about what would happen if that occurs, and you have a fresh experience of it and are able to share it, whether that's a big thing or a little so-called little thing, because there's literally no differences in that anyway. So this is great. It's very practical, and it's really an opening. Like, if you're conscious of it, that it is possible, it gives you the opportunity to share it and start that in yourself. Becoming excited, you could say, you can become excited by the fact that you're actually doing it, and that it, even though it seems totally impossible, seems to work perfectly. Now, okay, it's inconceivable to me that you don't know that you and I are really out of time together having a cold beer right now. You don't know. You just nod your head and smile, but you sure as hell don't know. It's an absolute fact, I guarantee you, that you are doing it. Not only that, but we're sitting right there doing it right now. Not only that, but I just told you that I'm doing that. Can you get any sort of feeling that everything is going on all the time? Everything is going on all the time. So it's like you have no idea what is possible and how this actually is. And in that, the possibilities are endless. And you have your own, see, even you could say, like, even in your own awakening, you have a set idea. You form an image of what you think transformation is, healing is, your future will be, heaven is, what you're doing, your activities, what they are, or the restrictions that might come up by transforming into a light being, you could say, thinking that you're going to miss out on something. Like here, Master Teacher says you have no idea that everything is going on all the time. Like, ideas leave not their source, they stay with you. Now, about this drinking a cold beer, it is more like, that's one expression of it. It's not that we're drinking cold beer right now, but it's like in that moment that he shared it, that is exactly what happened in that moment. It's like nothing is excluded. Basically, that's the message. Nothing is excluded. It is all open. And there's no limit to be put. Literally. Like, there's no limit that you can put on it in your experience of your newness of you. And that goes beyond what you think now. So you see, I can compare it with somebody going to church and having the rules of the church. Like, you want to behave well, you have to wear certain clothes, maybe a hat on your head, or who knows what, wearing a having a certain dress code to come into church. This is where you might have been grown up with. Now, like, these so-called limitations or rules they don't apply. They are not like all possibilities are open. This is more like it. Like all possibilities are open and are actually happening all at the same time. So all the possibilities are there. There's no restriction of any kind. And this way of thinking is very new. In your awakening, you discover that. It's like that's very new to you. Because before you know it, you limit yourself already to something. Or thinking that you have to behave a certain way in order to be well, to be good, or who knows what. To earn the gratitude of God or the grace of God, to earn that. Or who knows what your idea of thinking is. But this is like, no, this is wide open. Everything is possible and is happening. So nothing is excluded from that experience. It's a very liberating message, isn't it? It's like, that's so great. That's so. It is really as if you sit in a bar with him, hearing him talk and having cracking jokes and sharing his things of his explorations, as if he went on a world tour and discovered, like on a big safari, and he discovered all kinds of things that you really want to hear. Like that is the atmosphere where you're listening to in this. Well, that is the atmosphere that he was in for a long time. He was an alcoholic for 30 years, you could say. It's like ideas leave not their source. So here, in your self-expression, even that comes back and is not limited to anything in that sense, in the expression of itself. The uniqueness of you, and coming to this, can be given full value. The uniqueness of you, this is exactly what I was talking about. Like, it is so unique. What the expression of you as you is so unique, and it's all inclusive, and every part of it is an expression of you. The uniqueness of you, and coming to this, can be given full value, but it has nothing to do with the exchange of your identity. See, and this is the part that's not so easy to get right away, since your identity is in the way of your full experience of the freedom that you are. See, you know what I mean? It's like it has nothing to do with the exchange of your identity. And so I'm going to get out of this, because I see this happening many times. Like, you can't separate yourself from your dream. It's like you and your dream in your idea about yourself are one. Like that's one package. In the awakening, you discover that you're none of that. But in your expression of yourself, you're all of it. But it is not, say, retraceable. There's no exchange with your individuality, with your identity. There's no exchange. No, it is the beingness of it. I hope that makes sense. This is my attempt. So hopefully this miraculously reaches you to use what we just learned. So this is deep. But this is great, because in your self-observation, for instance, you identify with yourself and you really think that that is something. Now here, that's in fact dislodged. You're still going to be you. Like I said, the uniqueness of you deserves like full value. It's totally useful. Now here, for instance, in your borderland, in your happy dream, in your awakening, coming to the self-expression, but not managed and not directed by yourself, but receiving guidance in that expression, just as you into this world, expressing yourself into every facet of it, your you-ness is completely used into the finest communication, into attracting the ones that literally are for you, in expressing yourself exactly as you do. But it is not, say, relatable to your identity anymore. Like, it is being used as an instrument but you're not playing the instrument. That makes the difference. So this you might hear this way. Like Joel Goldsmith would say, like, you're an instrument of healing. Like you're an instrument. This character is expressing itself, but it cannot be related to this character any longer. So it's like, it is not about this whim that is expressing. No, this is everything of this whim is used to express this, but it has nothing to do with the personality any longer. That is the difference. It has nothing to do with the exchange of our identity. I don't have to confirm that. It's like, oh, you're such a great teacher because you are saying just the right things in your exact way. Like, that doesn't need to be confirmed in that sense, because I'm not doing that. It is being used. It is literally flowing through this, through me, expressing itself exactly in the way it can. How valuable is what I just told you to you is just exactly as valuable as you're willing to let it be, or as it fits into the definition of yourself. See, this is exactly what happens. So like, this can be of total value, what I share with you. That can be of total value if you are willing to let that be. Or, and this is the other part that I was describing, if you think it fits into the definition of yourself, then you're going to use this to define yourself and see, oh, I do make sense. Now I can be this great teacher because of my great capabilities, of my specific expression of myself that is helpful for others and blah, blah, blah. But still, it fits in my ego scheme of myself. See, that's the part that doesn't fly. And you just have to forgive yourself doing so. That's all. And you can use even that too as the expression. Like, nothing is excluded. You'll notice that at this range or this depth of teaching, that this is a broad spread. There's no doctrine in this talk at all, not any. And the idea that you could actually be you in a Western civilization, associated as a human being, okay, and actually come to know God is an extraordinary thing. Sure, yet I declare to you that only by utilizing your own whole self, in your own identity, can you come to do it. How sacred is to you, well, the more sacred it is, the quicker it's going to be for you. But it's not sanctimonious. It's not a demand for idolatry in our relationship. Now see, this is in fact saying the same thing, a bit different. It's like it's not to glorify yourself. That's basically, like, this is not about the glorification of yourself. The self-expression is not about the glorification of oneself, but being free of that. Being free of the idea that one needs to be glorified. And that's like, this is how sacred it is. If you see what actually is occurring, then in fact you're restored into your holiness, or into your sacredness. And in that, you're a whole part of the expression of that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so this is the part, the quicker you see how sacred this is, the easier it is for you. Because then the easier it is to say, like, yes, here I am. Whatever, however. But you're not using it any longer for your own confirmation of your identity. No, you literally are that. You allow the space to completely be that. Somewhere it is an acknowledgement that I don't know. Somewhere it is an acknowledgement that I know and you don't. or you can't get it. You won't learn if you think you know this. Is the whole basis of this teaching. Do you understand? Well, that's really clear, yes. It's like in order to learn something, what is the requirement for learning? Not knowing. You don't know. So if you can admit that, then you can learn something. It's like, but you learn something from one who you knows. And otherwise it doesn't make sense. So here it is like, I don't know. I'm open to learn. Now speak to me. Share with me. I want to know everything about this. Like I want to get in touch with what is actually being presented, basically. And it's, yeah, that's in fact the teacher-student relationship. But you have to admit it. So this is in the relationship, you could say, this is an essential part. Because if you continuously confirm that you know how it works and blah, 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 then you won't pick it up. You simply are still circling around in your own denial, in fact. You keep repeating that. See, there's nothing lost by you admitting that you don't know. So when you know, that becomes your experience. And that's immediately a joint experience. It's a sharing. That's why it doesn't hurt to say, I don't know. I love to say, receive this for myself. If I receive this for myself, I'm in an experience of joining. And I'm recognizing that teacher and student are interchangeable, that there's no difference between them. But up to the point that I still learn something, there certainly is a teacher-student relationship. Now, in order to be a student, you will have to be open to learn. Now, that makes total sense. You want me to have a way in which I got this. Oh yeah, that's such a great thing. I love it. This is our last sheet. So you really want to have a way in which I got this. Like, how did Master Teacher get it to where he's at? How did he come to his enlightenment? How is he able to teach from his revelation directly? How is that possible? What did he do for that? Huh? What experiences did he need for that? I want those too. Now, how do we do this? Right? So, of course you have thought as, like, how do you get to this? You want to know how I am different? I didn't have anything to do with it. And that is a total teaching expression. He had nothing to do with it. What do you have? It's like, as long as you have a personal involvement in your development, you still think that you can learn it and you can do it. In the moment of realization, you discovered, I have nothing to do with it. This was a total gift to me. That's all. It is totally given to me. I finally got myself out of the way, thinking that my involvement added something to it. See how double this is? Like, this is the message. It's a two-edged sword, you could say. It's really lovely. So it's like, I have nothing to do with it. And that's why it occurred. That's why it could occur. I got myself out of the way. Now it happened. And that's just the way that works. And that's great. So I'm really happy to hear about this. And I can't wait to listen to the talk. So let's get started with that. Thank you so much.
What really happened here? Did something really happen? Did a miracle really occur here? Huh? I don't know. Do you need a definition of it? I don't think I'd better teach it. So maybe I'll try that. It would be impossible for you to come in this situation and not be healed and be with God.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
I can soften that down for you. It would be impossible for you to come into any situation and not be healed and be with God. You like that one better. I tried to get you to look at last night. You're determined that there's such a thing as multitude, and there's not. We're all saviors of God. That's not so. There is only one Savior of the world, and that's me. Period. And if you say I'm the Savior of the world too, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. There's no sense in two. Because your salvation is admitting that I am. Well, nod your head, that's a statement of fact. Because if I'm not that, I'm not anything. The requirement is that you know, I already know who I am. Can that be conveyed to you? No. That's why you need the miracle. Whatever has happened to me, in this newness of me is not conveyable. I can bring you a vision of our association, but I can't speak to you of my revelation. How can I? It's not speakable. And a lot of you say yes, and when you go out with this new revelation and attempt to formulate it in associations, you'll have the same problem. But remember that your attempts to formulate it are what the miracle is. That's how to teach that. Your attempts to bring about a demonstration of it literally provide for the vision of the healing of the reassociation with the falsity. Will you feel the frustrations of doing that when you're not hurt? Oh, sure. And the higher your association, the more frustration you'll feel. Can't you hear this?
Yes.
It's inconceivable to you in your no mind that the association that a minute ago you identified with can understand what you are now. It's inconceivable to me that you don't know that you and I are really out of time together having a cold beer right now. You don't know that. You just nod your head and smile, but you as hell don't know it. Yet it's an absolute fact. I guarantee you that we're doing it. Not only that, but we're sitting right there doing it. Not only that, but I just told you that I'm doing this. Can you get any sort of feeling that everything is going on all the time here? It'll give you the biggest relief you've ever had. Instead of saying, well, how do you know that? What makes you think that you and I are together? The problem with dealing with it directly is the consciousness actually believes it's been signaled out for an association in its own identity. Dead wrong. All of that association it would be just another association of a thought form in a memory. I might as well let this hang out. In a memory that I would have in my mind. You see. You're 1 in a million, so there's only 50,000 like you. You're 1 in a million. There's 50,000 around here just like you somewhere. Okay. When Jesus teaches this, he teaches if you think you're special, you're going to have a lot of problems. The uniqueness of you in coming to this can be given full value, but it has nothing to do with the exchange of our identities. Okay? How valuable is what I just told you to you? It is just exactly as valuable as you're willing to let it be. Or as it fits into the definition of yourself. You'll notice that at this range or this depth of teaching, that this is a broad spread. There's no doctrine in this talk at all, not any. And the idea that you could actually be you in a Western civilization, associated as a human being, and actually come to know God is an extraordinary thing.
Sure.
Yet I declare to you that only by utilizing your own whole self in your own identity can you come to do it. How sacred it is to you. Well, the more sacred it is, the quicker it's going to be for you. But it's not sanctimonious. It's not a demand of adulteries in our relationship. Somewhere it's an acknowledgement that I know and you don't, or you can't get it. You won't learn if you think you know. This is the whole basis of this teaching. You understand? No. You want me to have a way in which I got this. That's really what you're demanding.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't it? How did you do? What if you allow me to be different? You want to know how I'm different?
Yeah.
I didn't have anything to do with it. Okay. You are undergoing a transformation. Okay. It's an inevitable transformation of the species of man.
Yes. Yes.
All you'd have to do is look at how you defined yourself as Homo sapien and see there's got to be more to you than this. Are you confined to a present of flesh in an objective universe and with 10,000 trillion things outside? Don't be ridiculous. You know perfectly well in your mind construct that you're more than this. And you obviously can see you're not going to get it physically in the sense that you're going to grow another head I mean, how is that going to avail you? Obviously, the mind is going to have to change. This is what we came to introduce into this segment of time. The idea that through transformation of the thought form, okay, there'll be a new association of mind. Not done by accumulating in a computer all of the thought forms of fracturedism that you call reality. You got that? We're getting a little tired of what you guys construct bigger and bigger computers. And all of the thought forms just get bigger and bigger, and there's more division and there's more division. It's called nurturing shallow roots.
Wow.
You don't question the source, you just keep making it more and more diverse. Until you got the biggest computer there is in the world, and it contains all of the Big Bang, and it has absolutely no answers at all. It simply reflects back onto another previous answer that didn't have the answer. And finally it'll refer back to something else. What a hell of a place to be. You think that you construct a big enough computer that'll actually bring all of the parts together to solve your problem. Okay? Don't you? If you can get a big enough computer, you can manipulate it to solve the problems of the forms that are contained in you. Are you able to do that? You can't do that as long as you keep the computer separate from you. Okay. The possibility of doing that is jumping into the computer.
Wow.
What will there be outside the computer? Nothing.
Wow.
Who is there to identify the computer? No one. Everyone? Do you see? This is the great paradox of duality. No matter how much you construct in all of the forms, you cannot make it whole unless you include yourself. To include yourself, you're going to have to forgive the friction of your own mind in association with your need to keep a separate identity. Is there a question on this? Remember, if you jump into the Akashic record, the record disappears.
Wow. No kidding.
Well, how the hell would it not? If it's a record of time, you dummy. The whole temple of the Akashic record is a computer. We got it on computers now because you got so much crap. We used to keep a little old guy in the library sitting there with spectacles that you could bring in a card to check your record and he'd go back to a file and bring it out and show you what you are. Now you've got it all in giant computer banks. But as long as you're separate from it, okay, don't you see? The whole cannot be the sum of its parts. That's ridiculous. The only answer, obviously, that each part is whole. Come on. How can you come to know that? Put all the parts together and jump in yourself. You'll have total friction with yourself and the things that you previously rejected. Yes. That's what forgiveness is. Yes. There's nowhere outside of yourself that you can find the solution. There's nothing outside of you. Isn't that amazing? What you've done is deny duality. Can you hear this?
Yes.
Now you've heard me give that idea of two. Okay. Obviously there's no such thing as two. This is the great Bertram Russell paradox. Bertram Russell probably had the least expansive mind of any philosopher that ever associated. That's why he's like Locke and all of the rest of these guys. He was determined. He took the French mathematician. He was positively determined to prove in a 7-volume association that 1 + 1 = 2. Okay, I'm not going to get into it, But it would be very obvious to you if you looked at it that 1 plus 1 could not possibly equal 2. What would 2 be? Okay. If 2 is either 1 or 3 to begin with. Is that so? You're always the plus. Is that a true statement? You see?
Yes.
Volume after volume somehow is going to demonstrate it, including the idea of abstraction of form, which he thought would work. In other words, I'm going to make 1 and 1 2 by not giving 1 any separate identity from the other one. Can you stay with me on this? I mean, it's obviously that one apple and another apple is 2 apples, and I must be the third thing that knows about the apple. I'm going to subtract myself from that. I'm going to have 1 be an abstraction, which is okay if there's only 1. But if I'm going to have 1 abstraction and I'm going to have another abstraction, and that's going to add up to 2. How the hell could it? Well, what's the difference in the abstraction? In your own mind. 3. It cannot not be. It's like your unconditional love. It's very conditioned. Do you see? This is what the perceptual mind has to do in order to keep its dualistic reality.
Yeah.
If not, it would begin to create, wouldn't it? It wouldn't use the thought forms that it has to create in its own limitation. No, there's no such thing as 2. Well, is there such a thing as 1? Compared to what? Is there or not? Oh. Pythagoras says there's no such thing as 1. There's no such thing as 1 if God is 0. When Jesus handles it, you got it? When Jesus handles it in the Course, he says 1 doesn't mean first in time. 1 means 0. That's really what he says. Okay, the distance between what you call 1 and 0 is what time is.
Yes.
Remember?
Yes.
Because the Big Bang. Because God is 0.
Yes.
Yeah. If you call God 1, you can do that, but it's an abstraction. The 1 then becomes full creation moving, not the 1 that can be identified in time. Okay, not the 1 that can be located. Have you got it? Good, because I'm getting out of here now. I don't know how I get off onto this. I don't have anything else to say. Hopefully, as your minds begin to do this, you will enjoy the reassociations of the mind and see how the power of your mind can be applied to what? Moment by moment problem solving that will give you ecstasy. Because all ecstasy and perception is only the solving of the problem. Or what? Or the union in your mind with what you're seeking. And if you're seeking, that's what guys feel when they turn on their own minds. And they'll jack in their own minds and just feel the continual satisfaction of not solving the problem. I know a lot of guys like that. I used to drink with them. We'd sit around and just reminisce about the problem. We'd feel the ecstasy of momentarily solving it. So, sort of like using a Zen cone or something. We would distract ourselves from the solution and force ourselves into another solution. And then we can make a book on cones, you know. How the answer will never be what we think it's going to be, and that will startle us into a broader realization of ourselves. That's Course in Miracles, isn't it?
Yes.
It always distracts you. The pronouns are never what you think they should be. The articles, the definitions will change. So this is your Course in Miracles. This is what's coming about in you. Now, is this miracle of healing occurring to you now?
Yes.
No, not now. You're just in identity. See, it's not the association of the thought. Let me try it with you this way. You actually believe that this body is a static condition. Somewhere you give a form, a staticness, and associate with it, don't you? It's hard for you, if I give you the fundamental premise, it really doesn't mean anything. The body is just space. It's real hard for you to do that. It's just an association of form in constant motion. It doesn't have any reality. But you're holding it together in that limited mind definition of yourself, isn't it? This is what I just read you. You're using all of the power of your mind to take a constructed thought, which is energy, and holding it together and calling it a body. A body constructed by your mind to give you a continuity in a space-time framework that's changing every second. What you're being asked to do now is make a quantum leap, which is nothing but a disassociation from your own objective reality. The miracle, then, as you read yesterday in one of the principles, is this momentary light reassociation of you. Now, that may formulate into another image of you, but it will be a brighter picture of yourself. You see? You'll get a better reflection of your own wholeness, of what you are in your common purpose. You'll notice that the Course only deals with reflections, not with truth. All I'm ever teaching you is that you can only be a perfect reflection of truth. Not that you can be the truth, because you already are that. But since you think you're fractured thought forms, associations, we want to give you what? A total reflection of your own thoughts that's divine. What do we call that in the Course? The Christ face. We want to show you one perfect face. Will it be my face? Hell, I don't know. Mine wasn't. I think it was yours. It was one of you. It was sure smiling. I went, wow. So this is the parting of that veil, isn't it? I'm afraid to do that. I'll lose myself. I'd rather arrive at the miracle by practical methods. Let's be practical. Let's be practical about this. I have absolutely no intention of abandoning the things that I love to A Course in Miracles. Well, I understand that perfectly well. Why would you? If you had done that, you wouldn't be here. I'm aware that you have no intention of doing this. Don't trust your intention. Well, how is it going to come about then? We're going to do it to spite you. That's a statement of fact. It has to be to spite you, otherwise you'd be in heaven automatically. You wouldn't be here. The resistance has to be you. I fooled you. I offered you a solution to the problem, but I was just giving, that wasn't so. I pretended you had a choice until I got you here, and now you're going to be totally disillusioned. You thought that I was going to be your savior, and you're dead wrong. I have no intention of saving what you think needs saving. If you don't like that, that's too bad. You understand? That Jesus calls that temptation. Do not be tempted to seek the solution in an idol that you have constructed to justify you sitting on your butt on that planet. I can only give you whatever you want, and I'm very happy to give you that, but it's so little. And I'm not actually concerned about your problem at all. I'm totally concerned about the association or the demand that you're making on me in what we call our covenant association. But I will fulfill that because that's my obligation and has nothing to do with you at all. You understand? I'm teaching at a real high level here for many of you guys because a lot of you are teaching this now. And this is the dilemma that you'll always have until this new association. Now what happened, can I tell them about that? What happened now, very recently here, is a whole new association where the admission that this is true has broadened. While it's still individual, it gives credence to the association that has been fearful of it, so he becomes less fearful. You see? Now, usually when this happens, not always, sometimes it'll just spring to light. Okay? And this may still do that. Would I dare tell you that? See, there's no predictability on the end of this. Does everybody understand that?
Yes.
Okay, why? You're changing it all the time. Okay? When they ask Jesus and he says, well, when is this all going to be over, Jesus? He says, God knows. There's no way that you can possibly know when it's going to be over. Why? It's already over, obviously. But that being said, there's an expedience about the atonement. I'll use the Holy Spirit, will always adjust totally to the circumstance each moment that it finds itself in. Obviously, that necessitates war, cruelty, sickness, and death. Now, what you want to do, okay, is penetrate as much as you can into the chaos, okay, to the maximum that the fear will allow you to do. Otherwise, it becomes senseless, doesn't it? Obviously, you're afraid of this message. You'd have to be or you wouldn't be here.
Yes.
Somewhere you have to be afraid of God.
Right.
Well, all right. But somehow you're defending yourself, all right, and have based your identity on being afraid of your own reality. So this must be a threat to you. And it is a threat to you. All I'm going to do is keep threatening you so that you can look at your fear and address yourself in association with yourself. If you'll begin to do that with A Course in Miracles, and that's what you've begun to do, that's an incredible happening. Why? It's the admission of the transformation of your own mind. You're literally, love is letting go of fear. You simply let go of self, which is what fear is. Love is letting go of self. It's probably a better way to look at it. Okay? Let go and let God. If you're a selfaholic. Remember I told you last night? You're a selfaholic. You have an identity with yourself that if you'll release, you'll be with God. And that's what's happening to you, and that's a new bright light association. Now, if the result of that is not light, it will be an increase in miracle association. Okay? The teaching is serve God first and then man. When you reach a new level of association with God, you will become what Jesus calls a miracle healer. And you will begin to be allowed to actually formulate miracle healing centers that will literally heal. And that's an astonishing thing to happen. This is happening now with a lot of guys coming out of God's country place.
Wow.
For the first time, the church is going to be a healing place.
Yes. Yes.
And the hospitals are giving them recognition. And it's happening particularly with acquired immune deficiency.
Yes. That's right.
There's nothing that science can do with an acquired immune deficiency, and it can't understand that the immune deficiency is an involved immunity to love. Okay. An acquired immune deficiency is the belief that life is an acquired immune sufficiency. Folks, life is not an acquired immune sufficiency. That being said, I don't want to get into that talk. I have an AIDS talk. There it is right there. That being said, the idea that what's happening, it's happening in Madison now with Divine Brother David. He's a miracle.
Yes.
And I don't want to get into miracles because there were more miracles here last night than you can believe. But David was dead.
Yes.
And there's a lot of associations, that were dead. And they're sitting here with me now, incidentally. And you're one of them. You were dead. Most of you got this far simply because a miracle was provided to you within your own time framework. Well, a lot of you were killed on the highway coming here. I wish I could teach you this. See, everything is going on all the time in your own thought. Can you see this? Huh? And you say, well, I didn't get killed on the highway coming here. The hell you didn't. Yes, you did. You have the capacity to change your own scenario mind perceptual identities with yourself. Many of you are experiencing this in loss of time. You say, what happened to that? Where did that go? There's an intimate thing that's going to happen to you, and somehow it doesn't happen. Yeah. And when you begin to experience that, you'll see that it's nothing but form. What you have done is changed your past, that's what I told you yesterday, and changed the future that until you changed your past was inevitable. It's impossible that those cars were not going to meet going 60 miles an hour at that intersection and all of the occupants be killed. Why? I just said so. Based on all of the references in time, that was going to occur. You call this precognition. There's really no difference between precognition and cognition, but you think there is. But remember that your precognition is based on your post-admission of your own self. You can really get this if you want to hear it. And that it's very possible for you to work a miracle each moment of changing what you were in that circumstance. It'll automatically change what was inevitably going to occur to you, which was your heart attack. And I don't know whether anybody, obviously you're always on the verge of death. Some people are very resentful. They come to me and I say, in 2 weeks you're going to have a heart attack. And you say, well, that's the way it is, or you can say anything you want to say, including, no, I'm not. And really, you're not gonna? Okay. Well, stop being human then, so you won't have one. Now, at that moment, can that association change its mind about the heart attack that it is constructed in itself to have? Of course. Why not? His reality is based on having cancer. Now, having cancer is the same as trying to keep from having cancer. And this is what's difficult for you to see. The idea that you can have it is the insurance that you will get it. Not getting it is what time is. Okay? Allowing yourself to get it now and not be threatened by it is what life is. Because a cancerous cell can be no more a threat to you than you'll allow it to be. It's an assertion of a separate identity that you have given that cell the right to do. And you're asking that cell to reproduce itself as a nice breast cell. And it gets all confused because your mind is all confused. In an attempt to protect itself, it utilizes other influences to reproduce itself. All you have to do at cell you say is that I'm in charge of this. Instead of trying to give it an autonomy and treat it and cut it off and do all sorts of things. Well, I was just looking at the so-called love centers that have been set up to heal using A Course in Miracles. They don't use A Course in Miracles at all. No. They acknowledge the sickness and then to try to love it to wellness. Will not work. There might be associations in healing, particularly in terminal diseases. I'll use AIDS. Problem with AIDS is that an association of that nature is loving itself to a more rapid death. See? Immunity or friction within the own association is a male-female predominance combination of the assertion of the self. When an association of love loses competitive identity, see if you can hear this, it will continue to love without the friction of the necessity of the self-identity. This causes a deficiency in its immunity. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Who hears this? Okay. And you call, I suppose you use the term homosexuality. I don't know what the hell that means. I'm speaking only that it is loving itself more rapidly to death because it will more rapidly lose its defense mechanisms. It's exactly, you can take it out of so-called homosexuality. It's a problem that all lovers have. Okay, because they lose their defenses. And you can look at it that way if you want to. The idea that love should be fostered in perceptual relationships to bring about healing is exactly the opposite of the Course in Miracles. The Course in Miracles teaches you to stand in love with God and let that association come in.
Yeah.
Literally, your relationship is what's killing you.
Yeah.
And if your relationship is one of non-defense in mutual identity, it will kill you faster because it still remains a limited love relationship.
Wow.
Everybody got that? Okay. The reason I know this is going to be true is because this is exactly how these AIDS miracleists are going to teach this. I mean, there's no question that the relationship is killing you. I'm not talking about whether it's homo, hetero, I don't care what it is. But it will kill you faster if you lose your defense mechanisms. Sometimes, what I did, is I may give what you call someone with acquired immune deficiencies a shot of thyroid, a shot of steroid, of male steroid, to make it a little more combative in its own association. This is a temporary experience. Can you hear what I'm talking about? Can you hear this? Doctors? It's a temporary experience to get some sort of balance of maleness. If you'd like to look at it, a guy dying of AIDS that says, shit, I'm not going to die, is going to live a lot longer. Actually, he could take all of his male defenses and say, I'm not going to die, set up one hell of an immune deficiency, and live for another 20 years and get killed by a truck. Could you understand that? But for just a moment, I want to introduce into it, okay, through the power of my maleness, a need for it to share in my union for just a moment and generate some energy. It's all glandular anyway. In a steroid reassociation that'll give it a power or a will to live, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
So that would be particularly with the immune deficiencies. I may do it. You could do it with anybody.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should have told you that, but suddenly the guy will feel this energy, and he'll feel like being more demonstrative of his determination to combat his sickness.
Yeah.
That's not the answer, but it can be used as a temporary answer. Then he gets in the capacity to see that it's starting to work. If I'm going to heal him totally, he's already healing my mind, I want to give him some evidence of the miracle. You see, so that when you walk into these rooms, and all you guys are going to be healing, you walk in as evidence that you are healed. But there's no way that you can demonstrate to him. This is what David's looking at. Then there's a lot of you guys, especially guys with AIDS, undergo spontaneous awakenings here.
Wow.
Notice I said awakening, not recovery.
Right, yeah.
Obviously, if you recovered, you're a whole new thing that doesn't require any defense. And that's what's happening. That was a little digression. What happens is that with this new association of giving, you will begin to feel needs to go out into the world and apparently serve man, even though at this point you're serving God.
Right.
Okay? Serving man in relationship with man is magic. Serving God in relationship with man is the miracle of enlightenment. That's why healing and enlightenment in the teacher's manual are the same thing. Association says, what's the difference between healing and atonement? Well, the same thing. But remember that if you lose it and use it in limitation, you can only get the result of the healing of your own mind. At this point, we're going to be allowed to take it, because there's been enough demonstration by you new awakened consciousnesses that you will not use this new power of your mind to augment your magic purposes for what we would call evil purposes. Do you see? What's the difference between the devil and God? The devil simply uses all of God's power in separation of itself. We could not give you all the power of God because you destroy yourself. See, somewhere now you're determined that you will not make application of your power in your own mind to satisfy your own association. You will not be a magician, but instead will extend it from you. This increases the capacity for the miracle immensely.
Yeah.
The problem you'll have with it is that you're going to be given credit for the healing.
Yes.
It's very insidious for some of you magicians. And the second page of is the occult necessary. And Jesus will say it's very peculiar that you somewhere want to take credit for not taking credit. Well, but that's what you do. And it says it's not, if you really look at it, I did that tape, incidentally. Did that tape ever get released? Are occult powers desirable? I just did it. It's a nice one. Somewhere you want to take credit for what you're doing rather than simply release it. So these new miracle centers will be these divine light associations coming in and extending the love of God. Okay, Jesus calls that when a sufficient number of miracle workers come together, that's the end of this world association. Automatically, because the karma is atoned completely and all of it brought to a bright light. Do you understand? How big is that factoring now of tech and all of these new minds that are coming into it? I have no idea. It will be just exactly sufficient for all of the things that it's going to bring to light. Wow. Not more than that and not less than that. Isn't that fun? If it does one single thing perfectly, it will be all there is. Yes. Because no matter what the multitude is, healing remains doing one single thing perfectly. You understand? Is that so? Or is that ever so? A non-definition of the action. The ceremony of sharing at the table. Not with 18 different things, but the ritual of doing one thing perfectly together. Boy, is that lovely. Right. Because in each extension of the pattern, whether it's in dancing or eating, you are in communication with this intent rather than, why don't you try a little of this so I can satisfy myself. Here, try a little of this. This is this. And you just keep gratifying yourself. You lose the ceremony. It becomes a sustenance of limitation rather than a sustenance of love, which is a simple acknowledgement that everything we do is divine. Do you see? Including that. That if you don't define it, it will be divine.
Yes.
Isn't that amazing? Well, Jesus says, leave the body alone and it'll be perfect. Don't give it a definition and it'll serve its full purpose. Do you understand? Yes. It's totally neutral. Yes. It's not even real.
Right.
If you don't give it its parts any definition, it'll work the way this one works.
Right.
Can you repair a broken toe? Yeah, I repaired my broken toe. Can I tell you that? It don't look so good, but it's repaired. Actually, Dee Dee repaired it. She went, and I said, well, I'll never get out. She just went, or was it you? It was one of you. I don't know. Was your toe really broken? Well, yeah. How the hell do I know? It's repaired. That occurs in the record as the broken toe incident. How may I find God? Break your toe. You're always setting up ideas about, how trying to replicate your previous experience. See? That's what ritual is, isn't it? So you build churches and do all sorts of things, establishment, to replicate something that occurred on this spot. Isn't that funny? Jesus goes into the transfiguration and the disciple says, let's build a temple on this spot. Yeah. That's funny. one final thing, advanced teachers. In any frame of reference, Hat knows what I'm going to say, this will always appear to fail. Okay? Because this is a perceptual association in time with failure, with non-salvation. Can you hear this? This happened in the resurrection, obviously, but it happens all the time. If there were a group of Seventh-day Adventists, okay, 100 years ago, and there were 150 of them, and it was the end of the world, and they all said, this is the end of the world, and we're going up onto this hill right here outside of Sedona, and we're going to stand there tonight and wait for God to come. Okay? Because all of the predictions are that this is the time and this is the place that he's going to come. This is a reported incident. So they go up there and it begins to rain and snow and sleet, and they stand and stand and stand, and the next morning all of the people in the valley observe these associations trudging down the hill. Okay. Proof positive that the resurrection failed. Here they come. Ha ha, it didn't work. I knew it wouldn't work. I knew that it wouldn't work. There are a bunch of Seventh-day Adventists who think they have the answer and went up to the top of the hill, and I could hardly wait for them to come down the morning to prove that they were wrong about what they tried to do. Crap. That association went to light and is gone and with God a long time ago. You're the one that watched them trudge down the hill, you dummies. If you hear me say yeah, amen. This is a crucial test of whether you're willing to look at what a miracle really is. You are setting and dictating the terms of your willingness to participate in the resurrection. Remember that it's always your judgment that's holding you here. Did they actually spring into heaven? Of course they did. Well, that's another timeline. Okay, that's another timeline. But you're caught in a timeline of failure. They went into a timeline of success and sprang out of here. That's why this will appear to fail. This will be written up in the Phoenix paper as some sort of ridiculous bunch of people who got together. I bet you can't hear this. It actually happened last night. But it's very hard for me to teach you this, because you still think somewhere in time you're in this association. You're really not. There was a very dramatic shift, and actually you're in a whole other time frame. It has nothing to do with the one you're in before. Okay? What happened last night was a bunch of guys with torches and 8 cars came up here and set this place on fire and destroyed it. That's what happened. You want to be in that scenario? Well, which one are you in? See, all of these things are always just happening. The problem you have at this level of teaching is that it always appears to fail. Because it cannot be verified. Because the verification of it is the limitation. And that's why you need miracle-minded people. What do miracle-minded people do? Change the time association in the congruity of their identities with themselves.
Yes.
Got it?
Yes.
The time is not sequential. All time is going on all the time in all associations. The question is, which one are you in? But you remember this, the time scenario association that you are in the construct of your own mind is positively the only one there is.